first month of the solar year is Thoth, which, as we say, conventionally we say is July. The second month is called Phaophi, or Feast of Epiphi, which occurs in August. The third month was Athyror, or more correctly Hathor, which occurs in September. The fourth month is Choiak, or Osiris, which occurs in October. The fifth month is Tyby, or Nehebkau, Nehebkau being a ancient serpent god of ancient Egypt. The sixth month was Mechir, which probably got something to do with Anubis and occurred in December. The seventh month was Pharmuthi, or the Great Fire Festival. This was changed in later times by the ancient Egyptians and given the name Imhotep, named after the architect of the Great Pyramids. And that would roughly correspond, if you like, in this convention with January. The eighth month is Pharmuthi, the Lesser Fire Festival, occurring in February and associated with the harvest goddess Renenutet. The ninth month of the year is called Pachons, which is Khonsu, or the moon god. The 10th month is Payni, or Khety, a form of Horus, and occurs in April. The 11th month is Epiphi, which means the valley festival of Amun, and occurs in May. And the 12th month of the year, the solar year, is Mesore, which means birth of Ra, also called lpet, after the hippopotamus goddess, and occurs right at the end of the year in June. And in some calendars, especially in the solar calendar, there are 5 extra days occur at the end of the year, and there's a god born on each one of these days. The first of them is the birth of Osiris, followed by the birth of Horus. The third day is the birth of Set. The fourth day is the birth of Isis, and the fifth day is the birth of Nedjes. Now I've put all this in a handy little table in the book as a rough guide. And it is very rough. But you can see from this that many of the most popular Egyptian gods and goddesses would have had their own special month in the Egyptian festival year. Now there are a lot of gods and goddesses in ancient Egypt, and it's quite likely that your chosen or favourite deity is not amongst them. For example, Seth is not shown there, even though he was one of the most important gods of the very old times in ancient Egypt. But there are other versions of this calendar, regional ones and sectarian ones, depending on which part of Egypt the priest lived in. Now in contrast to that, that's the solar year, which, even though this is a long time ago, for the Egyptians was quite a late development. They'd already been a civilization for more than 1,000 years by the time that they developed that festival calendar. And before that calendar, they used, as a lot of ancient cultures did, a lunar calendar, or they had a lunar year. And this also would have had 12 months, but would have had a 13th month occurring every third year. There, as you know, if you run a lunar calendar, you don't have 12 lunar months in each year. You have 2 years of 12 months, and then the third year with a extra month in it, the 13th month, which is perhaps why 13 is so special and magical a number. Anyway, the 12 basic months, which have slightly different names. The first month of the lunar year was called Teki, or the cup, and literally means that, a cup, which was used in the ritual celebrations. This began around the time of the inundation of the Nile in Akhet, and was probably sacred to the god Set. The second month of the year was called Minket, and was sacred to the very, very ancient god of Egypt, Min, who is a kind of early form of the god Pan. The third month of the year is called Hathor. The fourth month of the year is called Choiak, and was sacred to the goddess Sekhmet, or perhaps to the ancient underworld god Soka. The 5th month of the year was called Shef Bedet, which means the swelling of the wheat, and this may also have been connected with the god Min. The 6th month of the year was called Rekh, which means the Great Fire Festival. The 7th month of the year is called Rekh Nedjes, which means the Lesser Fire Festival. The 8th month of the year was called Renenutet, therefore named after the harvest goddess. The 9th month of the year was called Khonsu, the moon. The 10th month of the year was called Khety, which is an early form of the god Horus. The 11th month of the year was called lpet, which is the name of the great Hippo Goddess. And the 12th month of the year was called Renpet, which is a form of Ra, or sacred to Ra, as the beginning or end of the year. Now, when there was a need for an extra month, the 13th month, to keep the lunar calendar in sync, the name of that month, nobody's quite sure what it's called, but it was probably named after the god Thoth. So it was probably called Thoth, and occurred every 3 years. Okay, that's 2 lists, one for the lunar calendar, one for the solar calendar. Very, very basic lists those, and lots of complexities that could be added to them. I'll just give you a couple of examples of festivities that might have occurred in each one of those months. Some of those that occur in the 1st month of the year are very, very interesting. Day 1, of course, would be the New Year. It would be a celebration of the New Year, or if you like, the end of the old year, or if you like, alternatively again, a space between the two. It was both a celebration and a propitiation for a dangerous time between the years. In my book, Supernatural Assault, I give a lot more details about the kinds of special rituals that were done in that period between the 2 years. Now, another very, very interesting festival that occurred in the 1st month of the year, on the 18th day, was called Wag, or Wagi. It's a very, very important feast. The importance of this feast is attested from many inscriptions, but sadly, other than its existence, very little is known about what its ritual form took. It's interesting too that lots of books on ancient Egypt that deal with calendrical stuff don't even mention this festival, because it's the sources they use are probably incorrect in some way. But Wagi was originally a movable lunar feast, always occurring on the 18th lunar day. Thus, this was later transferred to a fixed festival calendar as the 18th day of the month of Thoth. Now, it's attested from the very earliest times until its reform in the Ptolemaic period in about 305 to 330 before the Common Era. One meaning of the word Wag is to provision, and it could well be the annual resupply of the tombs of the ancestors, which was undoubtedly a large part of this solemn feast. It is time of offering, especially of new linen for the benefit of the ancestors. An additional meaning of Wag might be to whistle, or it is possible that the feast involves some sort of chanting or keening to the departed souls. This antique feast is inevitably influenced by the cult of Osiris, whose shrine at Abydos, and no doubt many a lesser shrine, needed to be resupplied. And the linen of the previous years was torn into strips and taken by pilgrims as some sort of divine relic. These green or purple bandages were much prized and often referred to in inscriptions.